The Flame of Defiance, Humanity's Odyssey. Chapter 1. The Zarian Dominion, in the boundless expanse of the cosmos, where stars glimmered like ancient sentinels and nebulae swirled in vibrant hues, the Zarian Empire reigned supreme. Their armadas, vast and relentless, sliced through galaxies, their hulls gleaming with the cold menace of annihilation-grade weaponry. Worlds knelt before their might, their cultures erased, their people bound in chains of servitude. From the crystalline citadels of Zerandia Prime, the Zarian elite, ethereal beings with skin like polished opal and eyes that burned with molten silver, governed with ruthless precision. Their sensor arrays, delicate as the threads of fate, swept the void, cataloging every whisper of rebellion. To them, the universe was a machine, and they were its unerring engineers. On a quiet cycle, marked only by the hum of their eternal machinery, a faint anomaly pulsed across their monitors. A small fleet, barely a shadow against the infinite dark, drifting toward the edge of Zarian space. In the opulent war chambers of Zerandia Prime, Admiral Creon Valthar, a towering figure draped in robes that shimmered like liquid starlight, dismissed it with a scornful laugh. "A speck of cosmic debris," he declared, his voice a low rumble. That silenced the room. "Let it approach. We'll crush it as we have all others." Laughter cascaded among the officers, their confidence as impenetrable as their empire's shields. This tiny army was a jest, a momentary diversion in their ceaseless conquest. But as the fleet drew closer, the Zarian sensors detected an anomaly that stilled their mirth. Among the crew of this insignificant armada were humans, a species whispered about in galactic annals for their stubborn resilience, their maddening ingenuity, and their refusal to bow. The officers' laughter faded, replaced by uneasy glances. Humans were a paradox, a race that thrived in chaos, defying odds that crushed others. Admiral Valthar's clawed hand tightened on his command throne. "What madness drives these creatures?" he murmured, his voice betraying a flicker of unease. For the first time in millennia, a shadow of doubt crept into the Zarian heart. Chapter 2. The Flame. Ignites aboard, the flagship of the small fleet, the Flame of Defiance. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge, her eyes locked on the distant, ominous glow of Zerandia Prime. Her crew was a tapestry of survivors, woven from the remnants of shattered worlds, humans with their unyielding spirit. Tazraki, insectoid engineers whose minds buzzed with technical brilliance. Clithians, hulking warriors whose obsidian skin gleamed like volcanic glass. And Valorians, empathic strategists whose hive-mind instincts wove plans of uncanny precision. They were no grand armada, no coalition of empires. They were outcasts, refugees, and visionaries, bound by a singular oath, to shatter the Zarian yoke and light a beacon of hope in the dark. Ilara, born on a human colony reduced to ash by Zarian fire, carried the scars of her past in her steely resolve. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray, her green eyes sharp with a fire that refused to dim. Her leadership was not born of rank but of trust, earned through years of rallying the broken, of forging hope from despair. Beside her stood Kyle, a Tazraki engineer whose six-fingered hands danced across his console, tweaking the flame systems with a precision that bordered on art. "They mock us now," Kyle buzzed, his mandibles twitching with suppressed excitement. "But mockery is a brittle shield." Alara's lips curved in a faint, defiant smile. "Let's give them a reason to fear." The fleet's strength lay in its diversity, a symphony of contrasts that defied the Zarian obsession with uniformity. The Tazraki wove miracles from scrap, their engineering keeping the fleet's aging ships battle-ready. The Clithians manned the heavy cannons, their roars shaking the decks during drills, their loyalty as unyielding as their strength. The Valorians, with their shared consciousness, coordinated maneuvers with eerie synchronicity, their strategies unfolding like a dance. And the humans, pilots, medics, tacticians, brought a spark of chaos, a refusal to accept the impossible. Together they were a flame, small but fierce, ready to ignite a revolution. Chapter 3. The First Clash. As the flame of Defiance and its sister ships breached Zerandia Prime's outer orbit, the Zarians responded with lethal arrogance. A phalanx of their sleek dagger-shaped interceptors surged forward, their plasma lances glowing with malevolent intent. Aboard the Zarian dreadnought Eclipse of Eternity, Admiral Valthar issued a single, curt command: annihilate them. To him, this was no battle, merely an execution, a footnote in the Empire's annals. But Ilara was ready. Her voice, steady as a heartbeat, crackled through the comms. Formation Delta. Valorians, sync the evasion grid. Clithians, prime the ion disruptors. Humans, do what you do best. Surprise them. The flame dove through a storm of plasma, its engines roaring as Valorian algorithms guided it through lethal barrages. Human engineer Mira Chen, a wiry genius with a penchant for improvisation, had retrofitted the shields to absorb Zarian energy, redirecting it into the flame's weapons. The Clithians unleashed ion pulses, scrambling Zarian sensors and sowing chaos in their ranks. The interceptors, expecting a rout, faltered. A human pilot, Lieutenant Zara Khan, executed a daring spiral, luring 2 Zarian ships into a catastrophic collision. The Valorians adjusted the fleet's formation in real time, exploiting every Zarian misstep. The Tazraki, led by Kale, kept the Flames systems operational under relentless fire, their repairs a blur of motion. For every Zarian advantage, superior numbers, cutting-edge technology, the small fleet countered with cunning and heart. On Zerandia Prime, the elite watched in stunned disbelief. "This is absurd," an officer spat, his voice trembling. "They're a rabble, not a fleet." But Admiral Valthar's composure cracked, his silver eyes narrowing. He saw the humans' hand in every maneuver, their unpredictability a weapon no Zarian model could counter. Doubt blossomed into unease, and unease into a gnawing fear that whispered of change. Chapter 4. The Human Gambit. The initial skirmish was a declaration, not a victory. Ilara gathered her crew in the Flames war room, where holographic projections of Zerandia Prime's defenses glowed like a constellation of threats. The air was thick with the scent of recycled oxygen and the hum of machinery, but Ilara's presence commanded attention. "The Zarians think in straight lines," she said, her voice a quiet fire. "They expect us to break under their might. We'll use their arrogance against them." Valorian strategist Lyra, her eyes glowing with shared consciousness, proposed a radical plan. Infiltrate the Zarian Nexus, a moon-sized station that powered their armada's communications and logistics. Disrupting it could blind the Zarians, opening a window for a crippling strike. The mission was a death sentence, requiring a stealth team to breach impenetrable defenses. Lyra volunteered to lead, her Valorian logic tempered by a growing loyalty to Ilara. Ilara hesitated. Losing Lyra would gut their strategic core, but relented, her trust in her crew outweighing her fear. Lyra chose her team: Mira, whose hacking skills could outwit any AI; Zorak, a Clithian warrior whose strength could shatter barriers; and Kale, whose engineering prowess could keep their equipment functional under pressure. Under cover of a diversionary assault, their stealth shuttle slipped through the Zarian blockade, cloaked by Mira's jury-rigged distortion field. Inside the Nexus, they faced a gauntlet of defenses: laser grids, gravitic mines, and sentient drones that moved with lethal precision. Mira's fingers flew across her console, rewriting security protocols under fire, her brow slick with sweat. Zorak smashed through fortified doors, his roars drowning out the alarms, his obsidian skin scarred but unyielding. Lyra's empathic senses guided them past ambushes, her warnings saving them from annihilation. Kyle, his hands a blur, kept their tech operational, his Tazraki ingenuity turning scraps into salvation. Against all odds, they uploaded a virus into the Nexus's core, crippling its systems for a precious window. The fleet seized the moment. Ilara led a precision strike on the Zarian fuel depots, detonating them in a cascade of fire that lit the void like a supernova. The Armada, cut off from its lifeline, floundered, their once impeccable coordination unraveling into chaos. Chapter 5. The Cost of Defiance on Zarandia Prime. Panic gripped the High Command. Admiral Valthar paced the Eclipse's bridge, his officers' reports a litany of disasters. Communications severed, supplies obliterated, interceptors outmaneuvered. "They're nothing," he roared, his voice cracking with desperation. But the truth was undeniable. The humans and their allies were no mere nuisance. They were a storm, relentless and uncontainable, tearing at the foundations of Zarian supremacy. The small fleet pressed its advantage. Zara's pilots flew daring runs, drawing Zarian ships into traps woven by Lyra's strategies. Zorak's artillery pounded Zarian hulls, each shot a thunderous defiance. Kale's repairs, often done under fire, kept the flame aloft, his Tazraki. Ingenuity, a lifeline. Mira's hacks disrupted Zarian systems, turning their own technology against them. But the cost was brutal. Ships were lost, their crews swallowed by the void. Ilara mourned each name, her heart heavy with the weight of command, yet her resolve burned brighter than ever. "We fight for the fallen," she told her crew, her voice raw but unyielding, echoing through the flames' corridors. "We fight for the worlds they'll never see, for the future we'll build." Her words, carried by Lyra's empathic resonance, steeled their hearts, binding them closer than ever. As the battle stretched into weeks, the Zarians unleashed their titans, colossal warships that dwarfed the flame, their hulls bristling with weapons that could glass planets. Ilara saw their deployment not as defeat, but as desperation. "They're afraid," she said, her green eyes blazing. "Let's show them why." Chapter 6. The Crucible of Defiance. The final gambit was a strike on a Zarian titan, the Oblivion's Wrath, a fortress of destruction that embodied the Empire's might. Ilara's plan was to lure it into a pulsar's radiation field, where its sensors would falter, and hit it with everything the fleet had. The flame of Defiance led the charge, its hull scarred but unbowed, a testament to its crew's resilience. "This is our stand," Ilara broadcast, her voice a clarion call that echoed through every ship. "For every world they burned, every life they stole, we end this now." The pulsar's field was a maelstrom of light and chaos, a crucible that tested every soul aboard the flame. Zara's pilots darted through radiation storms, weaving through debris with a grace born of desperation. Lyra's calculations guided their strikes, targeting the Titan's reactors with surgical precision. Mira rigged drones with antimatter charges, their detonations tearing through the Wrath's armor like a blade through flesh. Zorak led a boarding team, fighting through Zarian corridors to plant explosives at the ship's core, his roars a challenge to the Empire itself. Kyle, back on the flame, kept the ship's systems online, his hands a blur of motion as he patched critical damage. Under fire, the Oblivion's Wrath fell in a cataclysm of fire, its wreckage a beacon of defiance that burned across the system. On Zarandia Prime, the elite watched in horror, their empire's invincibility shattered like glass. Ilara's voice rang out, hijacking Zarian comms with Mira's help. Surrender or face humanity's wrath. Demoralized and broken, the Zarian Armada retreated, their dominion crumbling into the void. Chapter 7. A Galaxy Reborn. In the battle's aftermath, the flame of Defiance stood triumphant, its hull battered but unbroken. Zarandia Prime, once a monument to tyranny, was now a symbol of hope, its skies lit by the embers of rebellion. Ilara and her crew mourned their losses, their sacrifices etched into the stars, names whispered in quiet moments, faces remembered. Dreams, yet their grief was tempered by pride, by the knowledge that they had changed the galaxy forever. News of their victory spread like wildfire, sparking uprisings on worlds long crushed by Zarian rule. The tiny army had ignited a revolution, proving that unity and courage could topple giants. Ilara stood on the flames bridge, surrounded by her crew, humans, Tazraki, Clithians, Valorians, each a thread in the tapestry of their triumph. "This isn't the end," she said, her voice soft but resolute. "It's a beginning. The Zarians will regroup and new threats will rise. But we've shown the galaxy what's possible when we stand together." The stars stretched before them, vast and uncharted, a canvas of infinite possibilities. The flame of Defiance sailed forth, its light a beacon against the dark, a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who dared to dream. And in every heart aboard, a single truth burned bright. As long as they fought as one, no force in the cosmos could extinguish their flame. A call to the galaxy. If this tale of courage and defiance stirred your heart, join us in spreading the spark. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to dive deeper into epic stories of humanity's triumphs and the battles that shape the stars. Like this video to honor the flame of defiance and share it with your fellow dreamers across the galaxy. Together, let's keep the flame of hope burning bright.